The morning mist still lingered over the quiet countryside when the sound broke the silence, a faint, trembling whimper, almost too soft to notice. At first, the rescuers thought it was just the wind brushing through the trees or the distant cry of a bird. But then, there it was again, a desperate, muffled sound coming from beneath the dirt. They stopped in their tracks. The two animal rescuers, Lisa and Mark, exchanged confused glances. They had come out early to check on a reported stray near the woods, but this was different. It was coming from the ground itself. Lisa crouched, her hand brushing across the soft soil. The earth felt disturbed, freshly dug. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Mark knelt beside her, pressing his ear to the dirt. Faint, rhythmic cries, weak, struggling, echoing from beneath the earth. His heart skipped. "Someone's under here," he said, his voice sharp with disbelief. They didn't hesitate. Dropping their equipment, they began to dig with their bare hands. The soil was damp and heavy, clinging to their gloves, their fingers trembling as they worked. The sound grew louder, small, pitiful gasps for air. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "Please, hold on," she murmured, scooping faster. Every handful of dirt revealed something more, a patch of old blanket, a bit of torn rope, and then a tiny paw. She froze, her breath catching. "Oh my God," the paw twitched weakly. "It's alive," Mark shouted. He dug faster, adrenaline rushing through his veins. The earth gave way, revealing a small, dirt-covered puppy barely clinging to life. Its fur was soaked, its little chest rising and falling in uneven, shallow breaths. The sight broke them both. Lisa gently lifted the fragile body, cradling it close to her chest. "You're okay now, baby. You're safe," she whispered, tears mixing with the dirt on her face. The puppy whimpered softly, eyes sealed shut, too weak to move. Whoever had done this had buried it alive and left it to die. Mark stood, scanning the ground, more mounds, more signs of digging. Fear shot through him. "Lisa, there might be more." They started checking each patch, listening for any sound. After minutes of frantic searching, they found another small lump. Again, faint cries. Another puppy. And another. By the time they finished, they had unearthed 3 tiny lives, one barely breathing, one cold and still, one crying faintly for its mother. The rain began to fall again, soft at first, then heavy. Lisa wrapped the puppies in her jacket, rushing toward the truck. "We need to go, now," she said. Mark jumped into the driver's seat, the old rescue van splashing through puddles as they sped toward the nearest vet clinic miles away. Inside the van, Lisa whispered softly, rubbing the puppy's chest to keep it warm. "Stay with me, little one. Please stay with me." Her heart ached with every weak whimper. The world outside blurred through the rain-soaked windshield, but all she could hear was the sound of fragile breaths, fighting, refusing to fade. When they arrived at the clinic, the vet team was already waiting. They had seen it all: abuse, neglect, starvation. But the moment they opened that blanket and saw the dirt-stained, trembling bodies, the room fell silent. The head vet, Dr. Reyes, took one look and began shouting orders. Warm blankets, oxygen, IV fluids. Hours passed in anxious silence. Lisa sat in the corner, hands clasped, whispering prayers. Mark paced back and forth, his boots leaving muddy prints on the tile floor. Every minute felt like an eternity. Finally, Dr. Reyes returned, his face tired but calm. "2 of them made it," he said softly. Lisa's eyes widened. "And the third?" she asked, already knowing the answer. The vet shook his head. "Too weak. Too long without air." Tears streamed down Lisa's face as she nodded. She looked at the 2 survivors, their small bodies wrapped in blankets, tiny noses twitching as they finally slept in peace. "They're fighters," she whispered. "They didn't give up." Days turned into weeks. The puppies, now named Hope and River, began to heal. Their fur grew soft again, their eyes bright with the kind of trust that only dogs can give, even after everything they've endured. Lisa visited them every day, sitting beside their cage, whispering softly about the world waiting for them outside. Green fields, open skies, soft grass beneath their paws. But at night, she couldn't stop thinking about the moment they had found them, the sound of the dirt moving, the desperate fight to breathe. Someone had done this. Someone had buried them alive, not once thinking they could survive. And yet they did, because life, no matter how fragile, always tries to rise through the darkness. One afternoon, weeks later, the local news station arrived at the shelter. The story of the puppies buried alive had spread across town. Donations poured in, People sent toys, food, blankets, messages of love and outrage. The community had come together to show that kindness still existed. As the cameras rolled, Lisa held Hope in her arms while River wagged his tiny tail at Mark's feet. "They're miracles," Lisa said, smiling through tears. "They taught me something I'll never forget. No matter how deep the darkness, there's always something waiting to rise again." Later that evening, as the sun set over the quiet countryside, Lisa drove back to the spot where they had found them. The ground was calm now, grass growing where the earth had once been torn apart. She placed a small wooden marker there, painted with 2 tiny paw prints. "For the one who didn't make it," she whispered. She knelt for a moment, eyes closed, remembering the faint whimper that had changed everything. That sound had led them to life, to hope, to a reminder that even when humanity fails, compassion can still rise from the dirt. Weeks later, both puppies were adopted together by a loving family. Photos filled Lisa's phone, 2 playful dogs running through a backyard, chasing butterflies, sleeping on a warm couch. Freedom, warmth, and love had finally replaced the cold and fear they once knew. And sometimes, late at night, when Lisa thought about that morning, she could still hear it, faint but unforgettable. A sound that once meant pain now symbolized survival. The sound of a heart refusing to stop beating. Because no matter how cruel the world can be, there's always someone listening, someone willing to dig deep enough to bring life back into the light.